But people, I mean, by nature of poetry living within us, were able to find new spaces where they could give artistic expression to their poetry. And then there was spoken word that came along, and it took over Nairobi by storm, because I have to thank the young generation really, that when one road is closed, they find new ways to express themselves, to give out their poetry. If nobody was publishing poetry books, they were there doing the spoken words. You know, I read Shailja, read Dungi Giduku, and then you also had now people like Teardrops, you know, all those guys, Mufasa, you know, my people are dying. And it seemed like the only way we could get to hear poetry was audio. And I mean, it is a way, because there are different ways to express our poetry. I believe, for example, even the Kalamashaka rap, if you remember Kitusua, I think he's one of the best poets in this world, you know, in Shen, but he's giving it as a rap form. You know, I believe people like, you know, Mario is a poet, speaking love, but in song, bongo ways of singing. Right here we have Otile, he's a poet, but he can only voice it. And that's why I'm saying today is a very special day, because it's been long since we've actually had a published anthology, a proper published anthology of poems in their written words. Poems, we give various ways of articulating issues in our lives. We've had protest poetry from South Africa during the colonial times. We had poetry that's trying to celebrate our Africanness, the negritude of Leopold Senghor. You know, we had poems that spoke against the vilification of the black person. I think I can mention Wole Soyinka, the telephone, just when the skin color matters to everyone. We have poetry of love, a lot of it. We have poetry that spoke about celebrating our African traditions, so-called Pamitek. We have poetry that spoke up against the colonial rule. And now we're having poetry that's speaking about the same things that exist in our world right now. And it just means that poetry is forever. Whatever the form, whatever the means through which it is expressed, whatever the means through which we consume it, whether it is coded in a book, whether it is coded in a spoken word, whether it is coded in a short film videos, poetry is our soul. Poetry is beauty, and poetry is life. Having said those few words, I'd like to... Oh, I just forgot something. I mean, it's very interesting that, especially in our African community, I think maybe it's because the poets of the early days were just a bit too violent against the systems, too violent against the institutions, calling truth to power, refusing to accept the lies that we were being given, refusing to succumb to the, you know, kind of, since you're learning, poetry has always been for the learned people, right? It's an intellectual pursuit. Intellectual doesn't mean that you have a PhD, because even in our traditional society, we have griots. If you come to my community in Bungoma, whenever a person dies, there's a guy who actually says, like an ode, right from the very beginning of how the Bukusu community was found, straight up to the person who has just died. You know, it's like the Iliad of the Bukusu, and you find yourself in that Iliad. Now that guy is an intellectual. He's just not your riffraff who just collects stories. He's somebody who sat down, crafted his art, has the institutional memory of the community in him. And whatever way poetry is performed, it has its importance in society. But unfortunately, in the African society, after we had a lot of great household poets that we can still remember till today, we seem to have shelved poetry to the back burner. We were made to understand in high school, in colleges, in primary, that poetry is hard and difficult, and therefore it was given another back burner, and we were forgotten. And yet, in developed communities like America, when Obama was being inaugurated in 2013, had a poet, right? Richard Nixon. When Biden was being inaugurated. Remember the poet, right? Anyone who remembers the poet? It was a household name. Anyone in the audience? Yeah? And remembers Gordon? It is in such communities that you see poetry and poets elevated to such a high status that they're important, like during an inauguration of a new president. Because they remind us and reminds that community of its essence, of its purpose, of its goals, of its vision, and of its ambitions. In essence, the sum totality of why that community exists. I want to thank Mystery Publishers for this occasion to be able to elevate the poets back to where we belong. Okay, I'm not a poet, I'm a poetry consumer, but yeah, to where poets belong, at the apex of society, giving us direction, giving expression to our everyday, activities, essence, identity, our fun, our moments of sadness, our moments of celebrations, our being us. I'd like now to just give a very brief rundown of what you're going to have today. So after this, you're going to have speeches by the